Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Sparky 107. Happy birthday to you. CP368 Productions. Another layout intro. This one covering the possible roster of the Binghamton Western. All the locomotives that are in the list that are going to come on the screen are not all going to be modeled. There is almost 2,800 locomotives, around somewhere close to 2,800, if not over 2,800 locomotives on this list of locomotives that have actually been on the areas that I'm modeling. So it's the list of what I can model, because I want to do only locomotives that were actually on the Southern Tier line: New York, Susquehanna, Western, Rochester and Southern, Buffalo and Pittsburgh, Buffalo Southern, the South Buffalo, those railroads. I only want to model those locomotives, then that I can actually prove we're actually on the model railroad, which unfortunately that leaves off some ones. I mean, the elimination of CSX eliminated a lot of CSX power, but there were several New York, Susquehanna, Western trains that were actually CSX detours. And they were working on, I believe it's the River Line. They detoured over the New York, Susquehanna, Western. So there are some CSX power for there, and those units will also be used for interchange with the Finger Lakes Northern eventually. But here we go over to that list, and there's a lot of different locomotives types. I mean, there's the RDC, they're from New York, Susquehanna, Western. If I can find my cursor, there it is. There's some slugs for South Buffalo, the S1 switchers for Bath and Hammondsport. Now, I had previously thought that you could only have one locomotive in a number, but since Sparky did a video showing that he has a lot of locomotives that are number 3, and he runs them together, so I guess he doesn't run them together, but he has them all programmed in, so I'll have them programmed in and just not run them at the same time. But we have the FRA track car, which I don't think is actually which is powered, but I don't think they make a model for that. If they do, I'll end up having it eventually. We got C430s, the Morristown and Erie C430s, which are on Livonia Avenue and Lakeville. Those are eventually renumbered. There's SW1s, MP15 DCs. You got Alicos, EMDs. There's the Montreal Locomotive Works units that arrived for. They were on New York, Susquehanna, Western at one point. Then they went to Bath and Hammondsport, got relettered for Western New York and Pennsylvania. There's an SD9043 Max, P32AC-DMs. Those were going. I'm not sure. I believe they might have been going. Maybe been at Hornell. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll go to Hornell. There's a few P32AC-DMs that will be modeled. There's the LANL C424s. Those will just be dead on the rails at Lakeville, because that's where they were. They've been sitting there. I don't think they might still be there. I don't know. But they were 2007 to 2009. They were sitting at Lakeville. There's some F40PH-2Rs, because Amtrak used to, back in the 90s and early 2000s, well, mainly in the 90s, they used to run pairs of F40PHs down the tier. I think they were going to Hornell. Then we got the Elcos of the Livonia Avenue Lakeville. There's a Buffalo Southern C415, which might not get modeled, because I don't think they were using it at the time. The C424Ms of the Livonia Avenue Lakeville, C424s of Western New York, Pennsylvania, and C430s. You got the Buffalo and Pittsburgh SD45Rs, GP40-2LWs. A lot of Guilford units came through at the time, so there's going to be quite a few of those modeled. There's lease units. There's a couple CSX C44 CW44-6s. There's the CP units that are patched KCS white. And I lost my cursor and it's not scrolling. There it is. Dual flag, red, white. Some of them I don't know what paint scheme they were in because they were like behind something in the photo and I couldn't see what paint scheme, or they were enough at an angle that the light was bouncing off of them and I couldn't tell. So I have to look up at the CP roster and see when they were in different paint, because there's a detailed Canadian Pacific roster out there that lists when they were repainted in different schemes, and I gotta compare those to the years that I have them, you know, be modeling them, and figure out what paint scheme they were in at the time. There's a couple GP9s. There's the CFX AC44 CWs, and those were very common on the line at one time. When the AC4400 started taking over for CP trains around this time. Before that, it was 5 or 6 SD40-2s on the CP trains, which is a major factor of why I chose the era I did, because you just don't see that anymore, except maybe on a regional or short line. You don't see that in a class 1 anymore. 4, 5, 6 SD40-2s on the point of a train. Now it's a couple -9s, a couple AC44 C6Ms. It's just not the same as seeing a lash up of 5 SD40-2s, SD45s. If the Wisconsin Central unit was on there. You have GP15-1s, all sorts of locomotives, and I'm going to scroll through this quick because this video is getting quite long. But you got there's CN power, CSX, CP, NS, a lot of NS power. I mean, right now we're at almost 800 locomotives, and I haven't even gotten out of the 3000s. There's the Conrail units, GP40-2s mixed in with NS SD40-2s. There's going to be some B23-7s in Conrail. I believe there's a couple C30-7s in here painted for NS because before NS took over the Southern Tier line, they ran into Buffalo on the ex-nickel plate. So there's some older NS power that was retired by the time NS took over the Southern Tier line. And there's some UP power, BNSF power. And foreign power happens. It happens a lot. There's GP59s. Fortunately, those are all now retired, but they're here and they're going to be modeled in the layout. I'm going to try to get a good amount of each different type. I'll not be able to afford all these locomotives. I mean, we're at 1,200 now, but I'll at least get a smattering of different types of power and enough of different types that it can operate, and be one locomotive, maybe 1 or 2 locomotives a year once I get enough cars to run a train and to run switching, and then it'll probably be a locomotive a year as I go through getting other stuff, because I make my last W2 was just under $2,000 a year for yearly income, so I do not make that much, but what I make goes towards paying my phone and buying stuff for the layout and emergencies for other stuff. More SD40-2s. There's a lot of CP SD40-2s, some STL&H SD40-2s, CN units. I'm gonna definitely make sure to have a bunch of STL&H power, because that was what the Canadian Pacific Local SK1 used a lot of times, and it had CP units too. Usually the CP rail or the CP rail multi-mark, but STL&H power was quite common. Sue, On the local wasn't that much. That usually came through on the through trains. But, and this is going to be a very long video. This is 10 minutes now, fortunately. But I'm not going to re-record it and try to go shorter because this is a lot for this. And you go Illinois Central. I was looking for that. I might have passed some other ones, but where is it? There we go. SD40A and SD40-2R. That should probably... Now that is the same, I believe it's the same locomotive. I'm not quite sure if it was an SD40A and then they rebuilt it in 2005 or if somebody mislabeled the photo. But that happens sometimes when you're dealing with photos. It's whichever one it is. I don't know. I don't care. If somebody knows what the deal is with Illinois Central 6018, comment below. But we got SD40-2Q. And so the red and white is, of course, the Sioux red and white, the red nose with the slanted and the white. You get the wet noodle paint scheme. There are some zebra stripe locomotives. I didn't notice them in here, but I haven't really been paying attention. I've been talking. I haven't been reading everything. If I tried to read everything, we'd be here all day. But there's some Conrail -8s. And those, of course, if I end up with ones that we'll have a lot of we have a few units in patch jobs. Those will get here later. Hands cramping up from holding the phone. There's some SD50s, NSSD60Ms, Conrail SD60s. There's a Burlington Northern SD40-2. Wisconsin Central SD40-3s. There's some SD45s from Wisconsin Central in here. I'm not sure. You might have already passed them. I don't have this memorized at all. But ooh, RS11. There's the Jetix SD40-2s that released to CP, and then they became, I believe those ones became CP units. They might not have. I know the yellow ones did. I don't remember those units because at that time I was not even born yet. I was born in 1992, so that was when I before I probably knew what a train was. There's some Wisconsin Central SD45s. I like the SD45. I don't know why, but I just do. And I'm going to make sure I have those in there. And then you get up here, and then you get some odd power. Like there's a CP RS23 that was switching at Conklin Yard in 1992, and that will be modeled. There's a few RS23s in here. There's some GP9Us. There's the NS-8s. There's a CRQ patch, and they're labeled as to whether they're the regular Conrail can opener is just CR patch, and then there is the Conrail quality patch, which is CRQ. These C32-8s, and then SD40-2, CSX SD40-2. There's the 8 C4400 CWs. There's a few SD90 Mac-H2s. The power gets kind of random here. There's a CNW unit that I'm definitely going to model both of those. A lot of people, when they are doing model railroads, they leave out foreign power. They do this, like, I'm modeling this, it's going to be this power. No, and they say that it's realistic, but it's not. When you have a railroad, you have foreign power. It doesn't matter what era you're modeling. I mean, there was foreign power. Probably not so much in the steam era, but once diesels happened it started showing up more, and you got to model that. And which is why foreign power is taking precedence, because foreign power, it was very common. Okay, we're getting to the 9000 series. You got the CP SD40-2S and NS-9s and a variety of other power. There is some other stuff in here, like the SD40T-2s, SB9391 and SSW9393. CPAC 4400 CWs and NS-9s. This is what most of the stuff we get. It being SF SD70 Mac interjected in there, and then you got another one down here. And there's the last one. Oh, I thought it was 2700. No, it's 3652 is in this list. But as I said, not all of these are going to be modeled. This is just a list of what appeared in the line and what I have pictures of, so that I can do it accurately to what power showed up and what the power looked like. And all these were pulled off of Bird Pictures Archive, and then I can just go later and search BNSF such and such and look at a bunch of pictures of it, find different angles. And once in a while, if I see something on Facebook taken in the area that I'm modeling, era that I'm modeling, I go to the list, I open up the list, check it against the list, and if it's not included there, then I add it in. But that is the list of locomotives that appeared in the area, that modeling some of them. Won't be modeling all of them. Even if I won the lottery, I would not buy 3,600 locomotives. That's just a tad too much. Just a tad. Maybe 100 too much. And this, of course, does not include the Finger Lakes Northern roster, which is... I've done more work on that. There's a couple SD45 T-2s on there and 14 SD45s that I added and a bunch of SD40-2s and such. But that, I'm not going to redo the video on that, at least not for a long time. So, enjoy. And happy birthday, Sparky.